Have you ever wondered what truly goes on inside an avoidance mind when you choose silence so deep there's nowhere left for them to hide? Today, let's uncover a surprising twist. Your deliberate silence, not an argument, not reproach, can become a powerful tool to shatter the emotional armor they've built for so long. In the next 5 minutes, you'll discover why well-timed silence not only helps you uphold your self-worth, but also forces the other person to confront their deepest fears, opening a pathway for both of you to forge a more genuine connection. But remember, this content strictly adheres to fair use principles. We won't overuse lengthy quotes, but will borrow concepts for sharp analysis and fresh perspectives, helping you grasp the core of avoidant attachment. Most importantly, if you're eager to deepen your understanding of the psychological mechanisms behind avoidance, uncover the secrets of their behavior, and learn how to respond with a secure attachment style so you don't get trapped in the anxiety cycle, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell right now. You won't want to miss the in-depth analyses, vivid real-life examples, and practical exercises featured in the video ahead. So stay with me until the end of this video, and let's explore together. How can silence become a statement of self-respect while simultaneously revealing the hidden drives in an avoidance heart? Get ready to embark on a healing journey where you'll not only master boundary setting, but also ignite authentic, lasting engagement. Let's begin. You can easily spot the familiar posture of someone with an avoidant attachment style. Their messages arrive at a turtle's pace. Emotional conversations are instantly postponed with the excuse, "I'm busy." And whenever a relationship starts moving too quickly, they take a step back, creating a protective buffer zone. They set the rules. Distance is my best defense. Yet there's a little-known secret. They don't actually want you to remain silent for too long. They expect you, with all your sincerity, will eventually take the initiative to break down that invisible wall. They've gotten used to playing the withdrawal card to maintain control, but they always believe they hold all the cards until you flip the deck. When you leave their messages unanswered, they begin to wonder, why isn't she replying this time? At first, they breathe a sigh of relief as their inner voice whispers, finally, no confrontation. Sometimes they even smile, convinced you have understood and accepted their need for space. But in truth, the moment you choose silence, a new energy quietly shifts the power dynamic. No longer are they the ones setting the distance, but you hold the key to open or close the door to connection. In reality, avoidants operate on their own psychological timeline. They anticipate that their self-imposed gap will be filled by you after a reasonable period, perhaps a few hours, a couple of days, or at most, a week. They believe these boundaries are temporary and will eventually be narrowed by your desire. But when you extend your silence beyond their expected time frame, even the most patient among them senses an internal tremor, disappointment, insecurity, and for the first time, doubt in their own beliefs. Imagine one morning, they wake up to find no calls and no notifications. At first, they check old messages, hoping it's just a technical glitch. But after repeatedly refreshing with no new alerts, questions arise that were never asked before. Have I been too indifferent? Is she upset? Could she have found someone more interesting? The sensation of waiting morphs into being abandoned, a state starkly different from the self-protection they once wielded. This transformation does not arrive with fanfare. It seeps through every thought, every silent moment in the avoidance mind. Initially, they defend their ego by rationalizing, "She must be busy, I'm just too sensitive." Then they lurk in the shadows of your social media, watching your posts and likes, just to confirm your world keeps spinning. They secretly crave a gentle touch, a single emoji, a sticker, or simply a casual thinking of you. Any small sign is enough to make their heart flutter. Yet, just as they struggle to find a foothold, you stand firm in your deliberate silence. You offer no blame, no anger, just an impregnable personal space. And it's this space that reveals they have been scripting the narrative all along. They create distance, they set the rules. But you, with one intentional silence, have imposed a new rule, and it's in your hand. That power shift can initially thrill an avoidant. They feel a momentary triumph in having taken you by surprise, seeing you silent. But that fleeting exhilaration cannot mask the fear hidden beneath. Fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear of being held accountable for the distance they once enforced. They face a mirror reflecting their true self, not the one in control, but the one who panics at the thought of being left alone. It is precisely in that space that the most curious phenomenon of an avoidant emerges. They begin to yearn for the closeness they have always fled. They feel emptiness, loneliness, a sensation they have long learned to suppress. And for the first time, they must confront themselves, not as the controller, but as a soul wounded by lack of connection. No escape route remains, only your silence, a mirror to their deepest solitude. And here lies the essence of the behavioral phenomenon. The avoidant does not just push others away, but pushes away the very emotions buried deep within. They distance themselves from the external world, so that the external world distances itself from them. And when that cycle completes, they realize absence does not bring peace, but stands as undeniable proof of the neglected desires within. Having unveiled the captivating behavioral phenomenon of the avoidant, let us now delve deeper into their inner workings, the psychological shifts that occur when they face prolonged silence. First, we need a smooth transition to connect the behavioral phenomenon to the psychological decode. From observing external behavior, we move toward analyzing the protective mechanisms and hidden voices within that the avoidant has cultivated over time. At the outset of your silence, avoidants often experience a surprising sense of relief. Their inner monologue whispers, "Finally, no confrontation." To them, silence can signal a temporary halt to emotional pressure, a sign that you have implicitly acknowledged and respected their self-imposed rules. Distance. Consequently, they may interpret your silence as tacit consent, proof that you understand and accept their need for space. Even when you stand firm, they mistakenly believe you are avoiding their anxieties or evading a difficult conversation. However, when your silence persists beyond their expected time frame, far beyond a few hours or days, the initial calm gives way to a discomfort they cannot ignore. They realize, this isn't a normal pause. She's distancing herself from me. This silence ceases to be a comforting shield and instead becomes a mirror reflecting their hidden fears. The avoidant self-esteem, built on the belief, "I control my space," is suddenly challenged. They had assumed that whenever necessary, they could withdraw, yet they had never truly felt what it's like to be abandoned. Now, with no calls, messages, or emojis from you, they begin to question their own worth. Did I push her away too far? Am I not important enough? Uncertainty takes root, spawning thoughts about their desirability, their connectability, and their significance in your life. Beyond relationship doubts, avoidants must confront ancient inner voices, fear of abandonment, fear of communicative failure, and, above all, fear of acknowledging their emotions. They have long viewed feelings as enemies, thinking wanting too much leads to pain, and thus often suppress their desire for closeness. Yet your silence forces these repressed needs to surface, swelling until they can no longer hide. During this phase, multiple psychological defenses come into play. First is rationalization. They conjure comforting explanations for your silence. She must be busy. Maybe she's unwell, to shield themselves from additional hurt. Next, they conduct light tests, indirect check-ins, browsing your stories, liking old posts, or sending innocuous messages, just checking how you're doing. These subtle gestures seek a safety net, allowing them to reach out without overtly breaking the silence. Simultaneously, avoidants may fall into negative self-suggestion. They weave in their mind narratives that you are playing emotional mind games, punishing them with silence, seeking control, or even finding someone more intriguing. Although these thoughts often stray from reality, they offer a temporary refuge to cast blame on circumstances rather than acknowledge their own role in the distancing. From these insights, we clearly see deliberate silence serves not only as a tool to monitor avoidant behavior, but also as a key unlocking the deepest layers of their psyche. Every moment of silence extends an invitation to confront buried emotions, anxiety, loss, insecurity, and the fundamental longing for connection. And from this crucible, they may begin an inner transformation, recognizing their own patterns and, when ready, opening up to forge a more secure and authentic bond. Having navigated the avoidance inner world, uncovering the insecurities and doubts your silence triggered, let us now explore a pivotal transformation: how they convert those initial emotions into sophisticated psychological strategies. This is the moment of the subtle shift, when the avoidant no longer merely confronts themselves but begins deploying mind games to regain a sense of control and mitigate their fear of loss. From the phase of self-rationalization, when the avoidant whispers, "She must be busy," or "She's going through something," they swiftly advance to more complex strategies. Your silence no longer simply awakens insecurity. It catalyzes a suite of psychological techniques aimed at restoring safety. This process unfolds quietly and subtly, often before you even notice. First comes the rationalization mechanism. Instead of admitting their own distress, the avoidant concocts excuses for your silence. She must be swamped at work, or her family might need her. These explanations act as a lifeline, preventing them from facing abandonment's sting. By attributing your behavior to external factors, they preserve their self-esteem and avoid feelings of guilt. Next, they implement test the waters, signs a series of small actions to gauge your willingness to reconnect. It starts with browsing your stories and liking old photos. Seeing you active on social media both reassures them you haven't disappeared entirely, and asserts, "I'm still here, waiting." Then they might send ambiguous messages such as, "How have you been?" or "Just thinking of you." These words carry no immediate demand for a reply but tempt your curiosity, nudging you to unlock the silence. In some cases, the avoidant escalates their mind games with subtle linguistic cues. They might discover an old post of yours and leave a casual comment, "Great shot," or "This is amazing." Seemingly innocuous, these gestures convey, "I'm still around, and I want you to notice." They scatter breadcrumbs through the silence, testing if you'll pick them up and respond. Meanwhile, internally, the avoidant runs another series of mind games. They create mental narratives that you are playing hard to get or punishing them with silence for past mistakes. Though irrational, these stories provide a convenient scapegoat, allowing them to blame external forces rather than confronting their own avoidance. This mental busyness keeps them from truly self-reflecting. When both outward tests and inward games peak, the avoidant may experience a mild psychological shock. They reach the limits of their rationalizations and defenses. Their control instinct falters against the void. At this stage, you might see them oscillate between anger, "You're overdoing this," and panic, "You actually might leave me." Their brief, clipped messages like, "Why so long?" or "Is everything okay?" reveal the tipping point where mind games crack, and the avoidant wrestles between the urge to reconnect and the terror of vulnerability. Furthermore, many avoidants resort to a distraction tactic. When emotional tension becomes too intense, they pivot the conversation to safer topics, work, friends, or hobbies. While this shift appears benign, it effectively delays addressing the emotional barrier. It buys them time, yet forestalls genuine intimacy. Finally, if all mind games and tests fail, the avoidant may enact a temporary withdrawal, complete silence to force both parties to face the consequences. This is the most perilous phase, risking relationship breakdown if you do not hold firm to your boundaries. Yet it is also the crucible of transformation. Either they acknowledge their missteps and strive to change, or they remain trapped in defensive cycles. In summary, the avoidance transformation and mind games compose a complex journey from rationalization to boundary testing, from distraction to full withdrawal. Each step reveals their dual impulses, self-protection and the need to safeguard self-esteem by controlling the relationship. Understanding these strategies empowers you to maintain deliberate silence with confidence and prepare emotionally for whatever reactions, gentle or extreme, the avoidant may exhibit. Building on the intricate mind games and decisive boundary tests of the previous stage, your deliberate silence now enters the revelation phase, where it does far more than merely create a void. It shatters the protective shells of the avoidant, revealing their hidden yearnings, anxieties, and pride. In an instant, the darkness of silence transforms from an isolating tool into a mirror reflecting the depths of their soul. For the first time, they experience the full weight of the emptiness they once used as a shield against vulnerability. As your silence shifts from a temporary pause to an enduring state, their heart begins to beat with a longing to be filled. This longing extends beyond craving a text or a call. It speaks to a deeper desire to be understood, to stand alongside you in an emotional world they have long avoided. Simultaneously, anxiety takes root as they recognize the true power of your silence. Not only do you respect personal boundaries, but you also demonstrate how those very boundaries can awaken buried emotions. This anxiety compels them to question their own loyalty and yours. Am I worthy of being waited for? Does my value in another's eyes merit such a prolonged silence instead of a gentle nudge? In this moment, their pride, painstakingly constructed from blocks of self-reliance and detachment, comes under siege. They learn a bitter truth, that withdrawing alone cannot guarantee safety, because when the other person chooses not to close the distance, it is the avoidant who becomes vulnerable. Thus, your silence not only exposes their deepest longings and fears, but also highlights the fragility of their once vaunted pride. Ultimately, this revelation unlocks the possibility for the avoidant to reassess their own patterns. They grasp that distance is not an immutable formula, but a signal demanding accountability and sincerity. With their innermost secrets laid bare, the relationship stands at a crossroads. Either they yield, dismantling the emotional wall to rebuild a secure bridge, or they continue to hide, burying the very longings that have now surfaced. In this pivotal moment, your silence ceases to be a mere tactic and becomes the catalyst for a profound shift from avoidance to understanding and authentic connection. Following the revelation phase, when the avoidant's hidden longings, fears, and pride have been laid bare, we now enter the final stage, healing and boundary setting. This is no longer a contest of control or psychological sparring, but a declaration of self-respect, articulated through steadfast silence, not as a tool to punish, but as a signal of the value you place on your own integrity. When the avoidant recognizes that they cannot manipulate you by guilt or coercion, they face a critical choice: to embrace vulnerability and reopen themselves, or to retreat further into their protective shell if they are not yet ready. In this moment, healing does not require forcing apologies or explanations, but begins with your unwavering commitment to the boundaries you've set. You are willing to listen and walk alongside them, but you will not tolerate perpetual avoidance. Persistent silence affirms that you will not endure an unfair dynamic. It shows the avoidant, if you want closeness, step forward. If you cannot, at least acknowledge it. In this healing process, both partners gain perspective. You examine your own emotions, understanding past wounds, and they confront the avoidance walls they have erected. Your healing stems from taking responsibility for your feelings, no postponement, no shifting your pain onto someone else. When the avoidant grasps this, that your silence is not a psychological game but a durable boundary, they may choose to take the risk of opening up. Their first step might be to voice genuine thoughts and feelings. I see I've withdrawn too much. I want to try again, but I'm afraid of getting hurt. This admission marks transformation, avoidance taking ownership, and healing beginning with sincere confession. Instead of evading, they might suggest an open dialogue. Can we discuss our needs for space and connection more evenly? However, some avoidants will not be ready immediately. They may temporarily cocoon themselves, wrestling with fear and pride. That's when you maintain your boundary. Don't let silence become a weapon, but remain consistent in your treatment and communication. You can still send a caring check-in, "How have you been lately?" But you don't break the silence until they truly step forward. This practice isn't meant to inflict pain, but to demonstrate that your boundaries are meaningful and must be honored. Ultimately, the final message to viewers is: never use silence as a tool of revenge. Instead, regard it as a proclamation of self-worth. Through enduring silence, you declare, "I respect myself enough not to accept imbalance in our bond." And if the avoidant truly values you, they will choose to face you, not further withdraw. Focus on your emotional world. Ask yourself what you need and want in the relationship, and identify the minimal boundaries that protect you from harm. Hold fast to these. Adjust flexibly when you see genuine effort, but never surrender so fully that you lose yourself. For true healing begins within you, from recognizing and honoring your own feelings, rather than waiting for someone else to grant you permission. Only when the avoidant is ready, when they intentionally cross the boundary you've set, can the relationship truly be reborn on the foundation of mutual trust and respect. Each step they take will then carry deeper significance because it is chosen, not driven by default avoidance. Thus, the final stage is not merely the end of a cycle of silence, mind games, revelation, but the beginning of a new journey, the journey of healing and building a secure connection. Hold your silence as a statement of respect and self-respect, and open your heart only when the other is ready to walk beside you. Before embarking on the journey of exploring silence, the subtle weapon capable of breaking through an avoidance emotional armor, let's revisit the powerful insights we've already uncovered. We began by identifying the behavioral phenomenon, how they hold the reins to create distance through delayed messages and the "I'm busy" excuse. Next, we decoded the psychology behind it, when your silence at first brings them a sense of relief, only to spark doubt, threaten their self-esteem, and ignite their self-justification mechanisms. Now, at the very moment you pause and let that void fill itself, we will together open the door to the transformation process, where the avoidant begins deploying subtle mind games. From rationalizations like, "she must be busy," to dropping small, test the water hints, liking an old photo, viewing your story, or sending an ambiguous message. These aren't merely avoidance tactics or manipulation. They signal that they are trying to regain control over the emotional territory you have just claimed. And now, just when things feel as tense as a drawn bow, your steadfast silence becomes a declaration of self-worth, not a tool for punishment, but a means to respect and protect your own heart. In this video, we'll explore how silence not only reflects the loneliness they have used as a shield, but also awakens their deepest longings and anxieties. If you're ready to move forward, hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what comes next, from those intricate mind games to the pivotal revelation, and finally the journey of healing and boundary setting. Stay with me to discover how well-timed silence not only upholds your value, but also creates a chance for both of you to step into a truly connected space. In classic American literature, countless characters display an avoidant attachment style even amidst splendor and extravagance. A prime example is Daisy Buchanan in F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel The Great Gatsby, 1925. Beneath her elegant veneer, wealth, and charming smile, Daisy harbors a profound avoidant psychology, a fear of facing true feelings and emotional pain. Analyzing her character helps us better understand the avoidant mindset and ties directly into our theme of using silence to break down emotional defenses. From her very first meeting with Gatsby at Nick Carraway's home, Daisy exhibits avoidance. Rather than expressing joy at the reunion, she offers a forced smile, a voice on the verge of tears, then swiftly deflects into small talk to mask her discomfort. This stepping back isn't due to a lack of feeling for Gatsby, but is a self-protective reflex, maintaining distance to avoid taking responsibility for strong emotions. Like real-life avoidance, Daisy dominates by controlling emotional space, welcoming Gatsby warmly, then immediately retreating into her own world whenever passion runs too deep. Psychologically, Daisy was raised in an upper-class family where love was transactional. "I grant you happiness, you grant me power." That environment taught her that expressing too much desire invites hurt. When Gatsby shows sincere determination to win her back, instead of responding wholeheartedly, Daisy holds back as a test, making Gatsby wait and sending ambiguous signals. "I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool." This classic test the waters move gives Gatsby just enough hope, but not enough to fully open Daisy's heart. During the transformation stage, Daisy employs rationalization to convince herself, "Gatsby doesn't really understand me," or "maybe he's just in love with an idealized version of me." When Tom Buchanan threatens exposure, she quickly returns to Tom's familiar world, using silence and avoidance as her final shield. She never directly addresses her fear of loss with Gatsby. Instead, she evades with empty words and a silent facade. At the revelation stage, the most dramatic moment unfolds. Gatsby's extravagant gift, a symbol of both love and status, fails to win Daisy's heart, and she suddenly recognizes the emptiness within. Gatsby's silence on the night of the car accident, when he refuses to appear immediately, leaving Daisy and Tom together, exposes her longing for protection, yet also her terror of abandonment. For the first time, Daisy clearly feels that wealth alone cannot forever mask her inner void. Finally, the healing and boundary-setting phase presents Daisy with a potential new path if she were brave enough to abandon her gilded cage. Yet, in the novel's tragic conclusion, Daisy chooses safety. She retreats further into silence, continues her life with Tom, and disappears into the pale blue mist of East Egg. She never learns to set healthy boundaries, honoring her own feelings while taking responsibility for her choices. Thus, her relationship with Gatsby ends in cold silence, leaving readers with a core lesson. Healing doesn't come from forcing apologies or explanations, but from the ability to uphold boundaries and face pain head-on. Linked to our theme of using silence to break armor, Daisy Buchanan clearly illustrates how silence can reflect protective shells, forcing us to confront genuine longings and anxieties. She shows that, without a message of self-respect and a willingness to open up, silence only drives us deeper into isolation, and even a dazzling dream like Gatsby's can vanish into hopeless darkness. In closing, let's reflect on the journey we've taken. From identifying avoidant behaviors, the delayed replies, the "I'm busy" refrain, and the distance they intentionally create to decoding their inner psyche, where your initial silence brings false comfort but swiftly breeds doubt and threatens their self-esteem. We then observe their deployment of subtle mind games, rationalizing your absence, testing the waters with old photo likes and story views, until your silence ultimately exposed their hidden longings, anxieties, and carefully crafted pride. Finally, that very silence opens the door to healing, a declaration of self-respect and clear boundary setting, not as punishment, but as an invitation to genuine connection. Through the example of Daisy Buchanan in The Great Gatsby, we deeply understand that avoidant attachment is more than an outward behavior. It's a fortress shielding inner loneliness. Silence, when wielded wisely, becomes the key that chisels away at that fortress, compelling them to face themselves. Only when the avoidant truly honors your boundaries and takes responsibility for the distance they have imposed can the relationship transform from mere defense to secure attachment. So do not hesitate to maintain silence as a testament to your intrinsic worth. Stand firm, honor your emotions, and give the other person the time and space to meet you sincerely. Silence is not a weapon of revenge, but proof of the strength that springs from self-respect. And when you choose to open your heart again, ensure that it is a moment when both of you are ready to walk forward together on the path of trust and wholehearted love.